The hull of the Galactic Concorde was built to impress. It floated in open space, wrapped in layers of light and slow-moving symbols that changed color with every spoken word. Species from hundreds of worlds gathered there, each believing their presence mattered more than the rest. Voices echoed in many tones, deep, sharp, musical, and rough. Power was not hidden in this place. It was shown openly, worn like a badge. Humanity's delegation sat near the outer ring of the hall. They did not stand out. Ambassador Anna Lee sat straight in her seat. Her hands folded calmly on the smooth surface before her. Her face showed little emotion. She listened. She always listened. Around her were other human delegates, advisors, and aides. They wore simple uniforms in dark colors. No medals, no bright marks. No signs of rank that outsiders could easily read. That alone made them easy to ignore. Across the chamber, representatives of older empires spoke loudly. One species projected its voice through vibrating plates. Another used a cloud of glowing particles to form words in the air. They argued over borders, trade lanes, and influence. Threats were made without shame. Fleets were mentioned by size and number, as if the larger the count, the stronger the truth. Humanity was rarely addressed directly when they were. It was with polite dismissal. Earth's position has been noted, one delegate said. Its many eyes barely turning toward Hannah Lee, as always. Your people request moderation. Hannah inclined her head slightly. Stability benefits everyone. The response earned little more than a ripple of amusement across the chamber. To many in the Concorde, humans were useful. They were good builders, careful traders, and reliable mediators. Their colonies grew fast, their technology advanced steadily, and their population adapted well to different worlds. But they had no known great wars beyond their home system. No legendary conquests. No terrifying displays of force. They were seen as cautious. Some thought them weak. Far from the Concorde Hall, deep within human-controlled space, Commander Jin Park stood on the observation deck of a long, narrow station. Outside the wide window, stars stretched into slow lines as ships moved in steady paths. Cargo vessels, survey craft, patrol ships passed without drama. Jin watched them with a trained eye. He had served for 30 years. He had studied every known major conflict in the galaxy. He knew the strengths and failures of other species better than most of them knew their own. Yet his uniform looked no different from that of a junior officer. Rank among humans was not something to be displayed for pride. A junior analyst approached him quietly. "Commander," she said, "the Concorde session is ongoing." "No changes." Jin nodded. "Any unusual fleet movement near the outer lanes?" "No, sir. Minor posturing from the coalition powers, but nothing outside normal behavior." "Good," Jin replied. The analyst hesitated. "They still underestimate us." Jin allowed himself a thin smile. "That is not a mistake we are in a hurry to correct." On Earth, beneath layers of ocean and stone, strategist Yuri Choi studied streams of data that never reached public channels. Her workspace was quiet, clean, and dimly lit. Screens showed star maps, resource flows, population shifts, and long-term projections that stretched centuries into the future, where others saw peace. Yuri saw preparation. Humanity had not grown strong by accident. From the moment humans first reached the stars, they had learned one lesson quickly: the galaxy was old, crowded, and unforgiving. Many species rose fast and burned out just as quickly. Loud empires attracted enemies. Reckless powers collapsed under their own pride, so humans chose another path. They built slowly, they spread quietly, they learned everything. Every trade deal carried hidden lessons. Every joint mission revealed habits, weaknesses, and patterns. Human ships mapped not just space, but behavior. Human observers took notes where others boasted. Yuri paused a data stream and leaned back. "They still think we are afraid," she said softly. No one answered. The room did not need to. On the edge of human territory, a small colony orbited a pale blue star. It was not rich. It was not famous. It existed because humans believed in redundancy. No single world was allowed to matter too much. Captain Dae Kim stood on the bridge of a patrol ship, watching the colony rotate below. His vessel was modest in size, its hull plain and unmarked. To outsiders, it looked outdated. To those who served aboard it, the ship was dependable, flexible, far more capable than its appearance suggested. Long-range scans clear, an officer reported. Keep watching, Day said. Quiet systems are the ones that surprise you. The crew relaxed slightly, but they did not joke. Human crews rarely did while on duty. Discipline was not enforced through fear. It was shared understanding. The colony had received warnings recently. Coalition fleets had been testing borders across the sector. Small incursions, provocations disguised as patrol errors. Other species responded with shows of force. Humans responded with silence. Day knew that silence was often louder than any threat. Back at the Concorde, Ambassador Hannah Lee finally requested the floor. The chamber dimmed slightly as attention turned toward her. She stood slowly, her movement unhurried. Humanity remains committed to shared security, she said. Her voice was clear but calm. We asked the Concorde to discourage border testing and unnecessary military movement. A delegate laughed openly. Discourage? It said, with what fleets? There were more sounds of amusement. Hannah did not react. With reason, she replied, and patience. The response ended the matter. The Concorde moved on. What most of the chamber did not know was that every word spoken there was reviewed, analyzed and archived by human intelligence. Not for outrage, not for revenge. For timing, humans did not believe in rushing history. As weeks passed, the galaxy continued as it always had. Minor conflicts flared and faded. Trade routes shifted. Alliances strained. Human space remained calm. That calm, however, was not empty. Commander Jin Park received daily briefings that showed more than what was visible. Coalition fleets were growing more confident. Their movements edged closer to human-protected zones. Tests became bolder. Still no direct attack, an officer reported. Of course not, Jin said. They want us to react first. And if we don't, Jin looked at the star map, then they will convince themselves we never will. That belief was spreading. Alien analysts began to speak more openly. Human restraint was reframed as hesitation. Human diplomacy was labeled avoidance. Some voices even suggested that human systems could be divided without consequence. Yuri Choi read those reports with care. She marked dates. She tracked who said what and when. They are aligning, she told her team. Not officially, not yet. But the idea is forming. And our response? Someone asked. Nothing, Yuri said. For now. On the patrol ship near the Blue Star, Captain Dae Kim received a priority message. It was brief: increase readiness. Do not escalate. Protect civilians at all costs. Dae closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. Raise alert level, he ordered. Quietly, the crew moved with calm speed. In the Concorde Hall, Ambassador Hannah Lee noticed the change before others did. Delegates who once ignored human presence now glanced toward her more often. Questions were asked indirectly. Probes were made through third parties. Humans answered everything with the same. Tone.com. Measured non-committal. The galaxy mistook this for uncertainty. In truth, it was discipline. Every human leader knew the same rule. True strength was not proven by early display. It was proven by control. As distant stars continued to burn and alliances shifted like sand, humanity waited, not because they were unready, but because they were. And when the moment came, the galaxy would understand that silence had never meant absence. It had meant restraint. On the outer edge of the colony system, long-range sensors detected foreign ships crossing a line that had been respected for decades. They did not announce themselves. They did not request passage. They moved as if the space already belonged to them. Captain Dae Kim stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the main display. Red markers appeared one by one, forming a loose wedge formation. Not a full fleet. Not a mistake either. They are inside the buffer zone, an officer said quietly. How long? Day asked. 4 minutes since first contact. Day nodded. Send the standard notice. A calm message was transmitted. It stated facts only. This space was under human protection. Civilian population present. Request course correction. No reply came. Instead, foreign ships adjusted formation and continued forward. Day did not raise his voice. Begin civilian evacuation protocol. The bridge crew moved at once. Alerts went out across the colony. Transport craft lifted from the surface in smooth waves, guided by automated traffic control. There was no panic. Drills had been practiced for years. Families followed clear instructions. Supplies were already packed. From orbit, it looked like a slow, orderly migration. The foreign commander watched with interest. To him, this confirmed what many already believed. Humans were retreating. Protecting lives, yes, but surrendering space without resistance. A reasonable choice for a people who knew they could not win a direct fight. He ordered his ships to continue. Back on the patrol ship, Dakim received confirmation from higher. Command: do not fire unless fired upon. Delay: observe. Protect evacuation. Day read the message twice. He understood the weight behind the words. Bring us between them and the colony, he said. The patrol ship moved forward, alone. Against the larger foreign vessels, it looked fragile. Its weapons ports remained closed. Its shields stayed at standard levels. The foreign commander opened a channel at last. You were interfering with lawful fleet movement, the voice said. Withdraw.
This system is under human protection,
Day replied. Civilians are present. Alter your course, or what? The commander asked. Day did not answer. He cut the channel. On Earth. Commander Jin Park watched the situation unfold in real time. He stood with his hands behind his back, facing a wall of data. Every ship movement, every signal, every energy spike was recorded. They are pushing, an aide said. Testing reaction time. They already know the answer they want, Jin replied. They want to believe we won't stop them. And if they fire? Jin's expression did not change. Then the test ends. In the deep command layers below, strategist Yuri Choi adjusted long-term models. The incursion was small, but its meaning was large. This was not about territory. It was about confidence. They are watching how fast we bend, she said. And how far? One of her analysts frowned. If we let them take the system, we won't, Yuri said. But we will let them think they are close. At the Galactic Concord, news of the border incident spread quickly. Delegates whispered. Some expressed concern. Others showed open satisfaction. Predictable, one said. Humans retreat again. Ambassador Hannah Lee listened without reacting. She requested a private channel with Earth, received a brief update, and closed the link. Her role was not to threaten. Her role was to witness. Back near the colony, the situation tightened. The foreign ships slowed, weapons powering up in visible displays meant to intimidate. Energy readings spiked. They are locking systems, an officer said. Day nodded once. Hold position. The patrol ship did not move. A warning shot passed through empty space. Close enough to register, but far enough to avoid. Damage, the message was clear. Day took a slow breath. Any civilian craft still in range? He asked. Last transport clears in 90 seconds. Good. Another shot followed, closer this time. The patrol ship's shields flared but held. Day opened a channel again. Your actions are recorded, he said calmly. Cease fire. The foreign commander laughed from his view. The human ship was a shield with no sword. He ordered one more shot. This time it struck. The patrol ship shook. Consoles sparked. Alarms sounded briefly, then stopped as internal systems compensated. Damage minimal, an officer reported. Shields stable. Day closed his eyes for half a second. Evacuation complete, another voice said. Day opened his eyes. Transmit confirmation, he said. Then pull back. The patrol ship reversed course, withdrawing in controlled motion. Behind it, the foreign fleet advanced into the now empty orbit. Across the galaxy, the moment was interpreted exactly as expected. Humans had yielded. Markets adjusted. Military planners revised projections. Confidence grew. At the Concord, a delegate openly praised the restraint of the coalition forces for avoiding full conflict. Hannah Lee said nothing. On Earth, Commander Jin Park turned away from the display. They crossed the line. An aide said, "Yes," Jin replied, "and they believe we stepped aside. That belief will spread." Jin nodded.
Good.
In Yuri Choi's command center, a long dormant indicator shifted from gray to soft white. She looked at it for a long time. Mark this as the first confirmed provocation. Begin second phase observation. Second phase. An analyst asked. Yuri did not look away from the screen. Let them get comfortable. The foreign fleet established a temporary presence in the system. They did not land troops. There was no need. The prize had already been claimed in their eyes. They sent reports home filled with confidence. Humans had been pushed, and they had not pushed back. Captain Day. Kim's ship docked at a nearby station for repairs. The crew worked in silence. No one spoke of shame. No one spoke of anger. Day gathered them briefly. "You did your duty," he said. "Every life got out. That was the mission." They nodded. They trusted him. What they did not know was how closely their actions were being studied, not as failure, but as proof. Proof of control. Proof of discipline. Across human space, quiet changes began. Ship schedules shifted. Supply routes adjusted. Training cycles accelerated, but without public notice. To outsiders, nothing changed. To humanity, everything aligned at the Concord. Ambassador Hannah Lee finally spoke again near the end of the cycle. "We formally protest the incursion into a protected civilian system," she said. "We request review." The request was delayed. Buried. Ignored, Hannah accepted the response with a calm nod. She returned to her seat in her private log. She wrote a single line: "They have chosen." Far from the eyes of the Concord. Deep within regions marked as empty on most maps, human fleets received silent updates. Crews were told only what they needed to know. Be ready. Wait. Across the galaxy, confidence continued to grow. And with it, the belief that humanity had reached its limit. The belief was wrong. But it was necessary, because only when others felt safe did humanity allow the next step to exist. The weeks after, the incursion passed without open conflict. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like a quiet victory. The coalition fleet remained near the taken system, rotating ships in and out, sending patrols deeper than before. No resistance came. No human warships challenged them. Confidence grew. In military circles beyond human space, officers spoke freely. They avoid direct fights, one analyst said. They protect civilians, then step back. They are predictable, another replied. Careful to the point of fear. Those words traveled far, inside human territory.
Were heard.
Commander Jin Park listened to recordings of those discussions in silence. He stood in a command room where the walls showed only stars and thin lines of motion. Each line represented a ship. There were far more lines than any outsider knew existed. "They think we stopped watching," an aide said. "We never stopped," Jin replied. "They confuse quiet with blindness." Reports flowed in from across human space. Small changes. Minor shifts. Coalition ships altered patterns, spending less time scanning, more time relaxing formations. Escorts drifted farther from capital vessels. Protocols loosened. "They are settling," Jin said. "That is what we needed." Deep beneath Earth's surface, strategist Yuri Choi approved adjustments that would never be made public. Reserve fleets shifted positions by fractions of light years. Production schedules advanced by months. Training simulations updated with real data. Collected from the incursion, no alarms were raised. No. Speeches were given. humanity did not prepare for. War, they refined certainty, Yuri. Reviewed a projection that spanned 27 possible future paths. In each one, the coalition acted first. In each one, the result was the same. Not victory control. She closed the file. On the edge of human space, Captain Dae Kim returned to duty. His patrol ship was repaired and upgraded in ways that were not explained to him. Systems responded faster. Power flows felt smoother. He did not ask questions. Orders came shortly after. Resume. Patrol. Maintain distance. Observe Day followed them exactly. During one patrol cycle, his ship detected a coalition scout drifting far past its assigned route. It lingered near a human relay station, its sensors active. "Do we challenge?" an officer asked. "No," Day said. "Log everything." The scout left on its own, to the scout's crew. The lack of response felt like permission. At the Galactic Concord, the tone shifted. Delegates who once spoke with caution now spoke with confidence. Border claims were made more boldly. Old treaties were questioned. The idea that humans could be pressured into concessions gained support. Ambassador Hannah Lee sat through it all. She took notes. When approached privately, she was polite but distant. "You could secure more favorable terms," one delegate suggested. "If you accepted protection," Hannah met their gaze. "We are already protected," the delegate smiled. Thinking it a joke, Hannah did not correct them. Beyond the Concord's reach, far from trade lanes and populated systems, empty regions of space held secrets. These regions were marked as low value by most maps. Nothing lived there. Nothing traveled there, except human ships. They moved without signal bursts, without standard drives. Their paths bent through space in ways most species had never mastered. They trained, tested, and synchronized. No one outside humanity knew how many there were. That ignorance was deliberate. In one such region, a fleet maneuvered in perfect silence. Ships adjusted position within meters at distances measured in thousands of kilometers. Weapons charged and discharged into empty space. Testing accuracy beyond visual range, every action was recorded, every result compared. Errors were corrected on Earth. Jin Park watched a summary feed. "Timing?" he asked. "Within margin," an officer replied. "Synchronization across all sectors remains stable." Jin nodded. "Good." He turned his attention back to the coalition presence near the seized system. The fleet had grown. Not enough to threaten Earth, enough to feel secure. "They think numbers matter," Jin said. "They forget coordination." Junior officer hesitated. "Sir, what if they don't escalate? What if they just hold?" Jin considered the question. "Then they will grow careless," he said. "And carelessness always escalates." He was right. The next incident was smaller, but louder. A human cargo convoy was stopped near a disputed lane. Coalition ships demanded inspection. The request was illegal under existing accords, but it was enforced at weapon range. The convoy complied. News spread quickly. Some called it humiliation. Human networks did not. They called it data. Every scan, every demand, every delay was measured. Reaction times were logged. Language patterns analyzed. Command hierarchies inferred. Yuri Choi reviewed the compiled intelligence. "They are showing us how they think," she said. "They believe dominance is visible." One of her analysts nodded. "They don't understand invisible pressure." "No," Yuri agreed. "They never needed to." Across coalition space, planners discussed future moves openly. More systems could be tested. More lanes could be controlled. Humans would protest, then adapt. That pattern felt safe. Captain Dae Kim encountered another provocation weeks later. A coalition ship crossed directly in front of his patrol. Forcing him to alter course, it was not. Dangerous, it was disrespectful. Day adjusted course without. Comment that the coalition ship broadcast a short message. "Thank you for your cooperation." Day did not reply. His Crew watched him closely. "We'll log it," he said. "That night cycle." Day reviewed internal reports he was not meant to see. He noticed patterns. Too many updates. Too many quiet changes. Humanity was not bending. It was aligning at the Concord. Ambassador Hannah Lee was finally confronted directly. "How long will your people tolerate this?" a delegate asked. Hannah folded her hands. "As long as necessary, and after." Hannah paused. "After, tolerance will no longer be required." The delegate laughed nervously. Across the galaxy, small signs appeared that something had shifted. Coalition ships experienced unexplained sensor noise. Communication delays occurred at critical moments. Navigation data conflicted with local readings. Nothing severe, nothing provable, just enough to cause confusion. Coalition commanders blamed software issues. Local anomalies. Crew error. Humanity did not comment. In hidden regions, human fleets practiced transitions from silence to action, not attacks. Not invasions, containment, isolation, control. Yuri. Choi watched the final simulation conclude. "All variables stable," the system reported. She exhaled. "Slowly? Then we wait for them too." "Choose," she said. "They already have an off." Analyst replied. Yuri nodded. "Yes, they just don't know it yet." On patrol, Captain Dae Kim received a new standing order. "Maintain position, do not engage. Be ready to transmit on command." Dae acknowledged. He looked out at the stars and felt a calm he could not explain. Whatever was coming, it had been planned long before his ship ever launched, across human space. Similar orders were received, no celebrations followed, no fear spread. Humanity waited not for permission, not for approval, but for the final mistake. And somewhere in Coalition Command, confidence crossed the line into arrogance. The galaxy leaned forward, unaware that the silence around humanity was no longer passive. It was poised. The final mistake came quietly. It did not arrive with a declaration or a grand threat. It arrived as an order written in routine, language, and approved by tired officials who believed. The outcome was already known. A coalition task force was directed to seize control of a human relay hub near the disputed sector. The hub was unmanned, lightly defended, and essential for civilian navigation. The plan was simple. Take it. Hold it. Force negotiations. They believed humans would protest. They believed humans would adapt, Captain. Dae Kim was the first to see the order reflected in movement. Coalition ships changed course with confidence, heading straight for the relay hub. Their formation was loose. Their escorts spread wide, watching for threats that never seemed to appear. Dae read the update on his console. "This is it," an officer said quietly. Dae nodded. "Transmit observation only." The patrol ship remained hidden behind the shadow of a gas giant, its systems running at minimal output. From there, Dae watched the coalition ships approach the relay. They did not scan carefully. They did not expect resistance. On Earth, Commander Jin Park received confirmation from multiple sectors at the same time. His screen showed identical symbols lighting up across the map. "They are acting," an aide said. "Yes," Jin replied. "They have decided we won't respond." He turned to another display. "Send authorization," he said. The message traveled through layers of command. Never slowing, never changing. Execute containment. No alarms rang. No sirens sounded. Across human space, ships that had appeared dormant changed state. Power flows shifted. Internal systems aligned. Crews received short messages. "Stand by, hold position, await signal, strategist."
Ow.
Yuri Choi watched the moment with still focus. Her hands rested on the console, unmoving. Years of preparation narrowed into a single window of time. "They will try to secure the hub first," she said. "Then bring reinforcements? And us?" an analyst asked. "We will arrive everywhere else," Yuri replied. Near the relay hub, coalition ships moved into position. Boarding teams prepared. Control signals were sent. The hub did not respond. Then space changed. Without warning, human ships appeared. They did not arrive from known vectors. They did not emerge with flare or noise. One moment, the space around the Coalition fleet was empty. The next was full. Human vessels surrounded the task force in perfect geometry. Distances were exact. Angles precise. No ship overlapped another's firing line. Coalition sensors screamed, "What is this?" A commander shouted, "Human ships did not fire. They locked position, Captain." Gay Kim received the signal transmit. He opened a channel. "This space is under human protection," he said. "Stand down and power down all weapons." The Coalition commander hesitated. "You were not here before," he said. "We were," Day replied. "You just could not see us." Across the sector, the same scene repeated. Coalition patrols, escorts, and reserve fleets found themselves contained. Human ships appeared at optimal range, weapons charged but silent. Escape routes vanished as space folded and adjusted around them. No shots were fired. No ships were destroyed. On the Galactic Concord's emergency channels, panic spread. "What is happening?" Delegates demanded. Reports flooded in. Fleets immobilized. Communications disrupted. Command chains cut without violence. Ambassador Hannah Lee stood and requested the floor. The chamber fell silent. "Humanity is enforcing defensive containment," she said. "No harm will come to your crews if orders to stand down are followed," the delegate shouted. "You hid this?" Hannah nodded. "Yes." Another cried out, "This is an act of war." Hannah's voice remained calm. "No, this is the prevention of one." Back near the relay hub, Coalition ships attempted to reposition. Their engines responded sluggishly. Navigation systems fed conflicting data. "What did you do?" the commander demanded. Day answered honestly, "We limited your options." The human ships adjusted formation by meters. Every movement was mirrored across the containment field. On Earth, Jin Park observed as resistance failed to form. "They're not coordinating," an aide said. "They can't," Jin replied. "We separated their command layers first." Yuri Choi reviewed status reports. "All containment zones stable," an analyst said. "No hostile fire detected." Yuri allowed herself a slow breath. "Good." Then we proceed to demonstration. Across several systems, selected human ships fired, not at fleets, at space itself. Precise energy pulses struck empty regions near Coalition vessels. Space bent, light warped. The effect was controlled and brief, but undeniable. Sensors went blind for seconds. When vision returned, nothing was damaged, but everyone understood. If humans chose to fire directly, there would be no defense. Captain Dae Kim watched the reaction on Coalition channels. Voices fell silent. Orders stalled. Fear replaced confidence, powering down weapons. A Coalition officer reported at last, one by one, ships complied, across the galaxy. The pattern repeated. Human fleets did not advance. They did not chase. They held at the Concord. Ambassador Hannah Lee spoke again. "This action will end when all Coalition forces withdraw from protected systems and cease hostile testing. And if we refuse?" someone asked. Hannah looked around the chamber. "Then nothing changes," she said. "You will remain exactly where you are." The meaning was clear. Hours passed. Then Day's Coalition leaders argued. But their fleets remained trapped, unharmed but helpless. Supplies dwindled. Morale dropped. Finally, orders came. Withdraw. Stand down. Human ships opened paths and stepped aside with perfect timing. Coalition vessels retreated, shaken but intact. Captain Dae Kim watched them leave. "Hold position," he ordered. The human ships faded from sight, returning to silence as quickly as they had appeared across the galaxy. Communications slowed. Military channels went quiet at the Concord. No one spoke for a long time. Hannah Lee sat back down. On Earth. Jin Park closed the operation log. They saw it, an aide said. "Yes," Jin replied, and we did not need to say a word. Yuri Choi reviewed the final metrics. No losses, she said. No escalation. She paused. And no illusions left. Far from the Concorde in the empty regions of space, human fleets resumed their waiting patterns. They had not conquered. They had not destroyed. They had revealed. And the galaxy, for the first time, understood what human silence had always meant. The galaxy did not erupt after the end of containment. It froze. Military channels that once buzzed with constant updates fell silent. Fleets that had rushed toward borders slowed and turned away. Patrols reduced their range. Exercises were canceled without explanation. No one wanted to be next. In coalition space, commanders struggled to explain what had happened. Reports described impossible positioning, perfect timing, and systems that failed without damage. No clear weakness could be found. No countermeasure proposed. They had faced power before. They had never faced restraint. On Earth, Commander Jin Park reviewed post-operation data. He did not celebrate. He did not rel. Axe. Status, he asked. All sectors stable, an aide replied. No hostile movements. No regrouping. Jin nodded. They're thinking. Strategist Yuri Choi stood beside a projection of the galaxy. Regions once marked in warning colors were slowly fading. They learned, she said. Not because we spoke. Because we acted once. And if they test again? An officer asked. Yuri's answer was calm. Then they confirmed the lesson. Captain Dae Kim remained on patrol near the relay hub. The space felt different now. Empty but heavy. Coalition ships passed at safe distance, broadcasting formal acknowledgments. No challenges, no jokes. Just caution. Day watched a convoy move through the lane. Its escorts tight and disciplined. They're behaving, an officer said. Yes, Day replied. Because they're afraid to misstep. At the Galactic Concorde, emergency sessions stretched on without resolution. Delegates argued, but their voices lacked confidence. How long have they had this? One demanded. Long enough, another replied. Ambassador Hannah Lee listened. When she spoke, it was not to threaten. Humanity has not changed, she said. You have only noticed. Some delegates looked away. Others studied her with new respect. Outside official chambers, quiet talks began. Trade representatives asked careful questions. Defense councils requested observers. Not alliances understanding, Hannah reported everything back to Earth. They're recalibrating, Jin Park said when he read her message. They should, Yuri added. The old balance is gone. Human fleets did not remain deployed. They did not loom over foreign space. One by one, they withdrew into regions once labeled. Empty. Their absence was more unsettling than their presence. Coalition planners adjusted doctrines. Firepower projections were discarded. Speed and numbers no longer felt reassuring. How do you fight someone who already controls the field? One asked. No answer came. Captain Dae Kim. Receive new orders. Reduce patrol visibility. Resume standard routes. Dae frowned slightly. Back to normal? Back to quiet, command replied. The patrol ship powered down auxiliary systems and blended into routine. Traffic life returned to human colonies without fanfare. Markets reopened. Schools resumed schedules. News channels reported the events in plain language. Without triumph, humanity did not cheer. They observed in military academies across the galaxy. Instructors paused lessons. Study this, they told students. This is modern deterrence. Human doctrine was analyzed line by line. Not weapons. Behavior, timing, control. On Earth, Yuri Choi reviewed long-term forecasts again. The lines had shifted. Conflict probability dropped across most sectors. This buys time, she said. For how long? Jin asked. Yuri considered. As long as we remain predictable in our restraint. Jin nodded. And unpredictable in everything else. At the Concorde, a final vote was called regarding the seized system. The coalition withdrew its claim without debate. The system returned to human protection. No. Victory speech followed. Hannah Lee recorded the decision, and closed her terminal. Captain Day Kim passed the system weeks later. Civilian traffic had resumed. Lights dotted the night side of the planet. "Feels quiet," an officer said. "It always was," Day replied. "We just made sure it stays that way." Across the galaxy, silence settled into something new. Not fear, respect, and beneath that respect lay understanding. Humanity had not shown the limits of its power, only its edge, and that was enough. Across the galaxy, long-standing disputes paused without formal agreement. Fleets that once patrolled borders with aggression now kept distance. Trade lanes remained open, but escorts stayed farther back. Weapons powered down. No one wanted misunderstandings. No one wanted attention. Captain Day Kim noticed the change during routine patrols. Ships acknowledged his presence with careful signals. Foreign captains addressed him with respect that felt new and measured. "Safe passage," he said. Day returned the courtesy. Nothing else was needed. On Earth, Commander Jin Park stood before a quieter command board than he had seen in years. Alerts were rare. Threat indicators remained low. "This is the pause," an aide said. "Yes," Jin replied. "The moment after understanding, but pauses don't last." Jin nodded. "That's why we stay ready." Strategist Yuri Choi studied the deeper patterns. Communications between non-human powers increased, but their tone changed. There was less ambition in the language. "More caution. They are redefining strength," she said. "They now know force without control is weakness." Human fleets held distant positions. They did not withdraw fully. They did not advance. They remained present without being seen. At the Galactic Concord, sessions resumed, but the energy was different. Delegates spoke more softly. Interruptions were rare. Threats disappeared from language entirely. "Ambassador?" Hannah Lee was consulted often now. "How does humanity maintain such coordination?" One delegate asked. Hannah answered simply, "By agreeing on what matters." "And what is that?" "Stability," she replied. The word carried weight. Outside the Concord, military academies changed their curriculum. Case studies focused on human containment doctrine. Not how it worked, but why it worked. Students struggled with the concept. "Why didn't they destroy the fleets?" one asked. "Because destruction creates enemies," the instructor replied. "Control creates silence. That silence shaped behavior." In coalition space, commanders hesitated before issuing orders. Every move was reviewed twice. Every action considered for possible response. What if humans interpret this as aggression? Became a common question, and so aggression faded. Captain Day Kim received a message from a civilian transport captain. "Thank you for being here," it said. Day stared at the words for a moment. He forwarded the message to Command Yuri Choi, read it and archived. "It impact beyond numbers," she said quietly. On Earth, Jin Park met with civilian leaders. There were no calls for expansion, no demands for dominance. "We will not rule," Jin said. "We will anchor." The leaders agreed. Humanity's role shifted without announcement. They became the reference point. Trade routes adjusted around human space. Treaties were written with human response in mind. Even when humans were not signatories, they were the constant. Far from populated systems, hidden fleets continued drills, not attacks. Not invasions, recovery, containment, D-escalation. Yuri Choi observed one such exercise. "They're adapting," an analyst said. "Even without opposition." "They must," Yuri replied. "Peace still requires strength." Captain Day Kim passed through the once disputed system again. Coalition presence was gone. Only civilian traffic remained. "Hard to believe," an officer said. "It wasn't hard," Day replied. "It was just unseen." At the Concord, a proposal was introduced to formalize human mediation authority. It was debated, revised, and eventually passed. Hannah Lee did not smile. Authority was not something humanity sought, but responsibility was. Across the galaxy, young officers studied human behavior and asked new questions. How do you win without fighting? How do you prepare without threatening? How do you hold power without using it? The answers were not written. They were observed. On Earth. Jin Park and Yuri Choi reviewed final reports from the containment operation. No retaliation attempts. Jin said. None expected, Yuri replied. They're still listening. Jin looked at the star map. We can't afford mistakes now, Yuri nodded. That's why discipline matters more than strength. Humanity remained quiet, not hidden, not absent, simply present. The galaxy adjusted around that presence, slowly and carefully. And in that adjustment, a new balance formed, one not enforced by fear, but by understanding. The silence held, and for the first time in a long while, the galaxy breathed easier, knowing exactly where humanity stood, watching, waiting, ready. Time passed, not in panic, not in fear, but in steady motion. The galaxy did not return to what it had been. It moved forward into something quieter, more careful. Conflicts did not vanish, but they changed shape. Words were chosen with care. Fleets stayed farther apart. Decisions took longer. Humanity remained where it had always been, at the center, not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as a measure. Captain Kim eventually received orders to return home. His patrol cycle ended without incident. As his ship entered Earth's system, traffic control welcomed him in a familiar, ordinary voice. Clear path to dock, controller said. Day smiled faintly. Normal still mattered. He stood on the observation deck as his crew prepared to disembark. They spoke of leave, family, and rest. No one spoke of glory. Their work had been quiet, and it was finished. On Earth, Commander Jin Park walked through a public space for the first time in months. People passed him without recognition. Children laughed. Vendors argued over prices. This was what had been protected. Not borders, not influence life. Jin paused and watched the crowd. We did well, he said softly, though no one stood beside him, deep below. Strategist Yuri Choi reviewed the final long-range forecast. The sharp peaks of conflict probability had flattened. Risks still existed, but they were spread and manageable. Humanity had bought time, and time, Yuri knew, was the rarest resource. She closed the file and powered down her console. For the first time in years, there was nothing urgent to plan at the Galactic Concord. A formal record was entered into the archives. It did not describe a war. It did not list casualties or victories. It described an event. The moment when humanity revealed its true military structure. The moment when fleets were stopped without being broken. The moment when the galaxy learned restraint could be stronger than force, Ambassador Hannah. Lee stood before the assembly one final time before her term ended. Humanity does not seek to lead this body, she said. We seek to preserve it, the delegate asked. And if the peace fails? Hannah answered without hesitation. Then we will respond, calmly, together if possible. No one laughed, no one challenged her, across many worlds. Young beings studied history lessons that included humanity's actions, not as legends, not as myths, as facts. They learned that the greatest display of power was not destruction, it was control. In distant space, human fleets continued to exist where no one saw them. They trained, they adapted. They improved not because they expected war, because they respected the cost of peace, Captain. Kim visited the colony that had once been threatened. He walked through rebuilt districts and watched ships lift into the sky. A local administrator thanked him. You saved us, he said. Day shook his head. We made sure nothing happened. That difference mattered. Commander Jin Park eventually stepped down from active command. His replacement was younger, just as calm, just as careful. The system did not depend on one person. It never had. Yuri Choi moved into an advisory role. She taught strategy not as equations, but as responsibility. Power invites attention, she told her students. Silence invites understanding. Galaxy remembered. Whenever fleets gathered too closely, whenever threats grew loud, someone would recall the day space itself seemed to close, and they would pause. That pause became humanity's legacy, not fear, not domination, but awareness. The awareness that somewhere, beyond the noise of ambition, species existed that watched patiently, that planned carefully, that acted only when necessary and when humanity unveiled its true military might. The galaxy did not burn, it fell silent, and in that silence, it learned how to endure.